Alright guys, I just got finished playing Shelter Generations. Now, this is a double pack of two indie games. Now, the first one is called Shelter 2, and the second one is called Paws. And the first game, Shelter 2, is obviously a sequel to another game called Shelter. I think it's only on PC and maybe Mac. But Shelter 2 is what I would best describe as a lynx simulator. Now, as I mentioned in my intro, you play as a lynx in this game, specifically a mother lynx. So in the beginning of the game, you get to name and change the colors of your lynx children, and you see a scene of them in your den. And long story short, you are responsible for taking care of them throughout the game. So now, what the game basically is the mother lynx, played by you, goes out and forages for food in a world that I would say resembles the art style of an Eric Carle book. So it's a very like collage-y kind of patternized cut and paste art style, and it's beautiful, don't get me wrong. I really like the art style. I think it's really cool. It's a different take on what a video game usually looks like. But that being said, there's not a lot to do in this game besides go out, forage for food, and bring it back to your cubs. Now, as you continue to forage for food, your cubs will eventually grow up and they will follow you around, which is helpful because that allows you to expand your search radius and explore new areas of the map where you can find small collectibles and come across different landscapes. There's a snowy tundra, a desert area, woodlands, etc. So there are a few different ways to interact with this game, but the premise is basically you are trying to raise your cubs to full-term adulthood. And the reason it's called Shelter Generations is because when you complete the game, which is really not that hard to do, you are able to play as one of your cubs and continue a new game where you do the exact same thing, but you create this like family tree of lynx, and it just goes on and on from there. Now, I kind of messed up when I played this game, not gonna lie. The game finished a lot quicker for me because I didn't realize that leaving the den and not feeding the cubs within a certain amount of time would kill them. So, long story short, I left. I tried to explore the world and catch food, but I took too long, and the lynx cubs eventually died. And the game came to an end as I kind of like met up with my lynx mate or something, whatever the end cutscene is, and the credits just rolled. So it was like an hour-long game for me, which is kind of funny because it's supposed to be like a 2 to 3 hour game. Long story short, this is obviously not how the game was intended to be played, but I didn't find the need to go back and play more of it. Honestly, I wasn't enjoying the gameplay. It just seemed kind of like a pointless simulation of what a real-life lynx would do in a cartoon world. So, long story short, that's where I stood on the matter. Now, I want to just play the trailer for you guys, just to give you an idea of what this game's about and get you familiar with some of the gameplay. So, take a look at this. So now at the end there, you can kind of see a sneak preview of Paws, which is the second game I'm going to talk about right now. And that's the other half of this double pack. And in this storyline, you play as one of the lynx cubs, and you're lost from your mother in a flash flood. And the whole game is you searching through a star-filled night, trying to find a way back to your family. And with the help of a bear who becomes your companion, you eventually do so. I actually found this game a little more rewarding to play because it had more of a cohesive storyline. There was motivation. There was cool interactions with other animals. You also did a little bit of like hunting for food, but not too much of that. It was more problem solving to get from area to area with the cooperation of your bear cub friend. It just had more of like a puzzle solving aspect to it, which I enjoyed. The art style remained the same in this game. If anything, I think the landscape was actually more interesting because it was a linear landscape. They put a little more detail into some of the surrounding interactable features. And then, long story short, you meet up with your mom and your family is reunited. And it has a very redeeming quality to it because you create this like close friendship with this bear cub. And not to spoil anything, but there's a strong symbolism there at the end that is displayed towards the end credits of the game. So I really enjoyed it. I really like Eric Carle books growing up, so the art style, just to reiterate, is very similar to his work, and I just enjoyed seeing that kind of creative new take on video game art. So taking everything I've just mentioned into consideration, I'm going to give this game, both Shelter 2 and Paws in combination, a gameplay rating of 3 out of 5. It was fun, kind of. I didn't think it was such a great use of time if you're looking for like quality, but it was a fun game, especially Paws. And storyline, I'm giving it a 2 out of 5. I really liked the Paws storyline compared to the Shelter 2 storyline, but either way, both were very minimalistic, very understated. There's no voice acting, there's no narrative. You kind of just figure it out as you go, and it's all implied through the art and the graphics and the various cutscenes that happen. So that being said, there wasn't much of a story going for it, apart from, the Lost Cub scenario that you play through in Paws, which I did enjoy. So that being said, it's a fun game, but I honestly wouldn't recommend it to anybody who's looking to play a good indie game. It's a little bit of a waste of time, but stay tuned for my next review.